So welcome everybody to this latest GCSE revision video on 162 Maths, and in this video we'll be going over the AQA topic test on the higher syllabus looking at inequalities. Now there will be a copy of the questions in the description below for you to download, have a go at before we go through the answers in this video. So let's get started on this AQA GCSE Maths topic test from AQA on the higher syllabus looking at inequalities. Now each of these questions are non-calculator, so we're expected to look at these on the finding these on the non-calculator paper. So let's have a look at our question 1. So question 1 says which inequality is represented by this solution. Now when it's an unshaded circle, that means it can't equal that number. When it's shaded in, it means it can equal that number. And this is represented by our fourth option here. For question 2, it says circle the set of integer values that satisfy -4 is less or equal to 2x or is greater than 2x. And which is less than 2. Now with this, what you want to try and do is get the middle. You want to try and get the n by itself. So how do I do that? Divide both sides by 2. So I've got -2, n, and 1. And then from this, what I'm looking for, well, it can be -2, but it has to be an integer that's less than 1. So that's going to be our third option. Looking at question 3, it says the shaded region R represents the solution to 3 inequalities. Circle the correct inequalities. Now, you may think you only see one line, which is a diagonal line, but unfortunately that is not the case. So our first line that we've got here is this purple line. Now that purple line has an equation of x equals 0. So because we want the left-hand side, the right-hand side of that, I want x is greater than 0. And the reason why it's greater or equal to is because it's a solid line, there's no dashed lines in it. So that's one that I'm looking for. The next line that I can see in terms of this inequality is this blue line, and that has an equation of y equals 0. So again, I want above that line, and it's a solid line, so that is the equation that I'm looking for. And then finally, this diagonal line here, that has an equation of x plus y equals 4. And because I want below the line, and it's a solid line, I want less or equal to. There is the option I want. So which of these 4 options gives me those equations in the box? Well, it's going to be our third option here. Moving on to question 4a, it says solve this inequality. And so again, what we want to try and do is want to get x by itself in the middle. So for this, what we'll do is take away 1 from both sides. So I end up with -6 and 3x in the middle and 12, and then I get rid of the 3 by dividing by 3, and so what I'm left with is -2x and 4. Then it says question 4b says show your answer in part A on the number line. So here I'm putting a circle at 2 and a circle at 4. I'm shading the one at -2, but I'm leaving the one at 4 unshaded, and then with a ruler or straight edge drawing those points up. For question 5, it says that Lee spends £12 making buns. He sells each bun at 80p. His target is to make a profit more than £5, and the question's in his target is to make more than £5. Set up and solve an inequality to work out the least number of buns that he must sell to achieve his target. So for this, let's just create a bit more space. So what the equation I need to write is that what I've got is, well, he spent £12, so 0.8 we work in pounds, buns, minus 12, and I want that to be greater than 5. Now this is one way of doing it. Obviously we could rearrange it and should get something very similar, but that's the formula that I am going for. So for this, what we need to do first is we need to take the 12 over to the side. So I've got 0.8b is greater than 17. And then from this, what I then want to do is get rid of the 0.8. So I divide by 0.8. So b is greater than 17 over 0.8. Now, obviously, as this is a non-calculator paper, what I then need to do is work that out. So here I've got, well, if I multiply both sides by 10, so we just do a little bit working out here. So if I multiply that by 10, I get 170 divided by 8. So 8 over 170, so that becomes a 0, that becomes a 2, and that becomes a 1, remainder 2. 8's into 20, go 2, 4, and then a 5. So that becomes then that B is got to be greater than 21.25. So how many buns needs to sell? Well, he needs to sell more than 22 to make that profit of over £5. Now for question 6, it says work out the largest integer that satisfies this. Now again, what we want to do, there's several ways in which you can do this. It all depends on how you taught. Whenever you've got negative x's, I would take them to the other side to make that a plus x. So then if I add x to both sides, end up with 3x plus 5 is less or equal to 13. Then take the 5 over by minus 5, so I've got 3x is less or equal to 8. And then x is less or equal to 8 over 3. And then it's looking for the largest integer. Well, 8 over 3 is roughly about 2.66. So here the greatest integer it's going to be then is going to be 2. So looking at question 7, it says solve the inequality of 2x squared minus 3x minus 5 is less than 0. Now this is where we're looking at solving quadratic inequalities. So for this, what we need to do is, first of all, we need to solve 2x squared minus 3x minus 5 equals 0. Now, as it's on a non-calculated paper, you should find that this does factorise, in which it does. So we've got 2x minus 5 and x plus 1 equals 0. Now from this, what I can then do is do a sketch. Now here what I've got is I've got solutions at, it's going to be at 5 over 2 or at minus 1. So if I imagine that this is at minus 1, this value here is at 2.5, and what I've got is I've got my U shape, because obviously it's a positive parabola, so it's going to be a U shape. Now from this, we're looking for values where the curve is above the x-axis. So if the inequality was going in the opposite direction, it'd be below, but because it's more than, we want this region here. So how do I represent that region? Well, x has got to be less than minus 1, or x has got to be greater than 5 over 2, or if you want to write to the decimal, 2.5. Then moving on to our next question, it says on the grid, show the region represented by, and then we've got this region here. Now what we need to do is we need to plot x equals 2, we need to plot y is equal to 1, and we then also need to plot 2x plus 3y equals 12. Now, in terms of the first two, and let's start by doing this. Now we know that from this, what we've got to do is we've got to have a dashed line for this. We've got to have a dashed line for this, and we need a solid line for the third one. Now, in terms of x is equal to 2, well, that's just going to be a vertical line. So let's just get the set up through the 2, and let's do that manually. So that's going to be this line, and this is x equals 2. Now we want the right hand side to that, so we want this side here. Now in terms of y is equal to 1, well, that's this line here. That's y is equal to 1, and we want the line that's above that, so I'm wanting this region here. Now in terms of plotting 2x plus 3y equals 12, well, again, all I need to do is just pick a particular value. So when x equals 0, 2x plus 3y equals 12. Well, that's going to be 3y equals 12, so y equals 4. So one coordinate is 0, 4. So 0, 4 is here. And when y is equal to 0, I get 2x plus 3y equals 12. 2x equals 12, so x equals 6. So another coordinate is 0, 6, which is here. Now, if I then draw a solid line through those 2 points, which I'm going to use the root of 4, use a different colour, let's go for green, and connect those 2 lines up. And I do want a solid line. I'm going to this one up like so. And because I want the area that's below that region there, I'm wanting this bit here, there. Now in terms of the region that satisfies all of those, that's going to be this little triangle here. And it says, and that's where I've answered the question. Now it is important that you make sure that your lines are dashed for those 2 vertical and horizontal lines, and a solid line for your diagonal line, but that's the region that we are wanting. And that concludes this topic test.